are warm, heartfelt. But I start to forget a little, because I am of respectable age. And yet I will start with my husband's first impressions of Alla Horska. He had just entered an art institute. One time he was sitting on the playground and watching students playing volleyball. And a blonde sits next to him, dynamic, athletic, and begins to command the action that takes place on the field. And my Boris is a silent man, and as a sculptor he is observant. He thought to himself, she will be a leader and organizer. And after a while they met at the art institute. She started painting and Boris sculpture. It was their first acquaintance. I met Alla through Boris, who was a student. In later years, as an artist, she worked extensively, creatively, and maybe a little spontaneously. Just as our whole life, with an element of such protest against social realism which bothered us all very much. Such events are especially memorable for me. Alla, with her energy, was able to get her superiors to arrange buses for artists on tours around Ukraine. Because she said artists must know their land, their homeland. We have actually traveled to many parts of Ukraine, especially the western ones, which have been closed for us for a long time. And we saw a lot of historical monuments, which all our lives later inspired us to patriotic action. But I'm telling you that if it weren't for Alla, this wouldn't have happened. And it was a big event for those days. The outright terror of persecuting my humble person for bourgeois nationalism and anti-Sovietism had already begun. Very kind to me, Alla approached, hugged me and said, "You're great, you're a heroine." Each in their own field, my husband and I came to meetings at the Art Institute and on those trips. In 1965, there was an evening that was the last official opportunity for me. And it was held at the Institute of Communications. I didn't even know, just like many employees of the Institute, that this institution was under the supervision of KGB and that it worked for the Northern Fleet of Russia. Some communication elements for submarines were produced there. And suddenly, such an evening in a colossal hall. People were standing even along the walls. We did a lot of work. I was quite dynamic then. As a journalist, I had a sea of friends. And then came students from art and theater institutes, from conservatory. And most importantly, a lot of people came from the institute staff of 2,000 people where I organized the evening. because I had a tie with the secretary of the Komsomol organization. The evening was formally dedicated to Vasil Simonenko, but the goal was to acquaint the technical intelligentsia with the new poetry, which in such a powerful fountain flew for such a short time of the early 60s thaw. It was then that the first collections of Lina Kostenko, Ivan Drach, and Vasil Simonenko appeared. Their works were in such a powerful development, and they all came to this evening. Ivan Svetlichny and Ivan Dzyuba, my close friend and in fact to some extent a mentor, opened it. Alla was also there that evening, and it was such an apotheosis meeting. Alla greeted me at the end, and I was happy that such an energetic and strong person was with me that day. There was also Vasil Stus, with whom we were close friends from the first moment we knew each other. And it was difficult for Alla to get close to Vasil in this circle. She simply adored him as a strong man and as a man of incredible talent. And then not all people felt and suggested that Vasil is a genius, Shevchenko's younger brother. I am grateful to Allah that together we created the psychology of a new patriotic democratic thinking among our intelligentsia. It was very difficult. This tragedy happened. I remember Valia calling and telling me that Alla Horska had been killed. And it was a terrible signal that terror was approaching. Then we talked to my son, who often came to the Museum of the Sixers, which was later created. And when I remember Allah, I immediately remember Vasil, because he valued that powerful dynamic in her, the energy of resistance to the evil force that occupied our country.